Welcome, welcome, welcome to Rooted in Wealth. This is regenerative finance for land-loving humans. So welcome again to everyone. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart and the roots of the earth for being here and choosing to spend this hour with us. Rooted in Wealth is a gathering, and it's to remember what money is actually meant to do, and that's to nourish life. So today we're exploring finance through a regenerative land-based lens, one that honors real humans, real bodies, real land, and real community. And so we can go on. So today you are going to see this QR code throughout the day that is on the side of the screen. And I encourage you to use the QR code and go fill out the form there. And what will happen is you will then be able to receive a complimentary holistic financial strategy session just for you. Which is amazing, but also amazing, you will be entered into a prize drawing at the end of this call. So if you fill that out, then you will be able to win, and there's some amazing prizes that we have for everyone who fills out that form. So go ahead and do that now, and it'll pop up again throughout the presentation. But before we go anywhere, I want to ground us in why this work exists. So, the world right now, it's asking a lot of us, right? Emotionally, energetically, financially. There is a lot going on out there. And there are also many of us who are doing the sacred and necessary work, the earth work, the spiritual work, the healing work. And a lot of people are doing it under-resourced. And so Rooted in Wealth exists because loving the earth, loving people, and creating new futures requires capacity. It actually requires a tremendous amount of capacity, and that includes our financial resources. And so wealth isn't necessarily the goal, but it is a tool. And so what are we growing toward? So we're not just reacting to broken systems. In fact, the system was very intentionally created to work the way it does, and it's working incredibly well. And so what we want to do is actually actively grow something new that benefits everyone. So we're growing resilient people, thriving land, and communities that can actually sustain themselves. And this kind of future requires financial systems that circulate, regenerate, and support life and not extract it. And so we believe that when the heart-centered, conscious, earth-loving people have some serious resources, we will be able to co-create real change. So for example, I'm a permaculture designer, and I know that one billionaire could actually end world hunger using those principles and growing food for everybody. One billionaire. So imagine, if a bunch of us, had millions and we could pool those resources, we can solve problems like world hunger, like housing, like all of the issues that we see that we face today. And so what we are doing is not traditional finance in the sense. Most finance currently is from a very corrupt system that's fragmented, it's fear-based, and it's disconnected from the actual humans and the ecosystems in which they actually live. And so we operate under Vortex Financial. We are a collective of heart-centered humans who want to change the world by getting money in the hands and hearts of people that are going to do good things with it. And so I actually recently did a presentation called Not Your Grandpa's Financial Advisor, which is a whole other thing. But we are so different than anyone really in the financial field. And every single person that you'll hear from today is a licensed financial professional who also is a multi-prismatic being doing a million other things and skills as well. And so, we can share more about who we are and how we're able to do service-based work if you sign up for one of those sessions I talked about. So either grab the QR code from the slides or one of our peeps can put the link to the Google form in the chat right now. And we can totally have a conversation about how that works. But because we're focusing on earth-based financial education for this next time that we're together, we want to dive deeper on this, and we can, get into that in the future with you if you're interested. And so our work is really different because it is holistic, it's comprehensive, it takes into account not just person, but their community and their ecosystem that they live in. It's nervous system aware. So we're very aware that there's a lot of trauma around money. Living in the system that we live in is inherently traumatic. And so we incorporate those principles in the work that we do with people. And we design financial plans that are really empowered and soul sovereign, that the person knows, what it is that's being put together, that it's showing them how to get from where they're at to what their goals and dreams are. And it's cyclical, it's not linear, it's designed for real lives and for real people and their unique circumstances. We do not separate money from our values, our bodies, the land, or the seasons. All of these things you can bring, to your sessions and incorporate in how you're moving through your finances as well. And so, I want to also acknowledge that the current system is pretty corrupt. And we recognize that we are working within that system as financial professionals, but by actively putting our energy there and helping other people to enter into this system and utilize it to make change within it, then we can allow these, corrupt and defunct systems to really compost into fertile new ways for us all to thrive together.
Well, Sophie told me to come in at 3 because it wasn't. No.
Alrighty. So, permaculture. So, a lot of you that are here probably know what permaculture is since you are land-based. But this is permaculture for your financial homestead now. And permaculture is a design philosophy for creating resilient systems. It's not just gardens, although those are included. And we apply it to money the same way we would apply it to land. Design matters more than force. Relationship matters more than control. And it's about looking at things really holistically and how they can work together to be efficient. And so this framework guides everything that you'll hear today. And so there are 3 core ethics of permaculture, and they're going to guide our entire financial approach as we discuss it today. The first is earth care, money that supports lands, bodies, and long-term life. People care, financial systems that reduce stress and honor capacity, and fair share and future care. So we want to circulate wealth, create legacy and stewardship just beyond ourselves. We're not, accumulating wealth to hoard it. We really want it to create a better ecosystem for all. And so when money is in right relationship and it's designed that way, it becomes nourishment. So from here, we are going to move from philosophy into practice. So if it is available, I want to invite you to arrive in your body right now. We can take a moment, if you're not driving, to close your eyes and allow the outside world to melt away for a few moments. And place your feet on the floor if you can, and feel what the floor and the ground feel like below your feet. Feel what the chair or whatever surface you're sitting on is holding you. Feel the points where it's supporting you. And take a slow breath into your belly, inhaling. And as you exhale, allow your butt and your feet to sink ever more gently into the floor and into the earth that's supporting you. And as you continue to breathe in your belly, imagine that there are roots, that they're growing down from your root chakra, which is at the bottom of your torso. These roots are growing down your legs and out your feet, down the bottom of your feet and deep into the earth. So down through the rocks and the soil and the water tables and the hot molten lava. And it's going all the way down to the center of Mother Earth, this matrix of unconditional love and the creative energy that creates everything we see on this planet. And once you feel that love and that energy, allowing that energy to rise back up. So as you inhale, allowing the nourishment from the earth to rise up into your body and your being. And as you exhale, allow any tension to release, any maybe monkey mind or thinking or anything that's happened on the way here today. And as you inhale, continue to breathe in that nourishment. And as you continue to inhale and exhale, also calling on creator energy. So whatever that means for you, if it's God, if it's source, universe, whatever that energy is that creates every single thing that we perceive and see in this world, imagining that as a light that's flowing down to you and through you and all around you like a waterfall of liquid light. And imagine what it feels like to be in this waterfall of creator energy that you have access to, that you're accessing right now because you're tuning your awareness and your attention and you're bringing it down and it's filling your body and it's filling you with light. And as the light from above and the earth energy from below rise up into your body, it collides and creates this field all around you, this protective bubble where you're safe and you can breathe and you can be, and nothing can enter this field. And from this space, if it's available, you can whisper quietly to yourself if it resonates with you, I am safe, I am here, I am becoming. And take one more big breath. And as you exhale, you can allow your eyes to gently float open. And knowing that money work lands differently when the body feels safe. So we like to establish that safety in our systems first. And from this grounded place, let's actually look at what makes a financial ecosystem healthy. So we are going to dive into the 6 components of financial independence of a healthy ecosystem. So just like a garden, financial health is not just one thing, it's a whole system that works together. And today we're going to explore the 6 components that work together to create biodiversity and resilience. So the first is cash flow. The second is emergency reserves. This is kind of like the prepper, portion of it. I'm not much of a prepper. So we do refer to this as a freedom fund. But I was like a Girl Scout growing up, and the motto was always be prepared. So I do believe in that. It's an important component. We will talk about debt management and debt freedom, how to really utilize the debt system in a way that works. Proper protection, so making sure that everything you've built and you yourself and your people are protected in case anything happens. And then we want to get into some of the more, it's like the spring and the fall harvest of building wealth and preserving wealth. And none of these pieces actually stands alone. So we're going to walk through each one with a permaculture lens. And I invite you, as you soak in the wisdom from each of our presenters, to notice which one feels strong in your system, which one like you already have, like set up and working, and what's asking for care. And I invite you to share whatever is bubbling up for you in the chat. If there's any insights or questions that arise, we welcome all of it. And so to remember that the QR code is always available if something clicks for you, you want support. And by the way, if you're just coming in now, if you fill out that form, you will be entered in a raffle for some amazing prizes afterwards. So click that QR code, get it now. Well, I introduce our first concept and our first essential component, which is cash flow. And the amazing Amy Roseberry will be delving into what that is. And to start by saying that, what cash flow really is it is the water system of your finances. So, in permaculture, in the world, in our bodies, water is life, right? And so cash flow is the water system of this whole system, how money enters, moves, pools, leaks, and without healthy flow, nothing else can thrive. So I'm going to pass it off to Amy, who's going to explore how to stabilize and strengthen that flow.
Okay, thanks, Lobster Bird. So cash flow. I love thinking of money as water, and you can't grow anything without it, right? When you're planting a garden, you need to know how much water that's going to take and how much you currently have. Maybe put a 1 in the chat if you've ever lived in an off-grid setting. I feel like that's probably at least a few people in this group. And water becomes one of your number one resources. So I think it's pretty important. So thinking of your cash flow in this way makes it a little easier to navigate. A lot of people that are within this group, a lot of people who are homesteaders, farmers, sometimes get caught up in the idea that there's not a set income and that it could be hard to track different expenses, that kind of thing. And what I would say to that is a fluctuating income is absolutely fine. Think of nature, think of your own body. Everything is always fluctuating. So this is absolutely fine, but it's really important to start looking at that and start to find and understand the patterns that are happening in your own financial life. So my action item to you, I would invite you to start having a once a week, maybe just go ahead and mute if you're not muted. My action item would be to start having a once a week money date where you sit down and look at all of your expenses and income. Start to understand the seasons and patterns of your cash flow. And before you try to, implement a budget or immediately start trying to change things, just start to observe, right? This is something so important that we do in nature. Start to observe, see what you're spending money on, what you're leaking money on, where your energy is flowing. It's going to show you a lot about what you value. So that's my invitation. If you want, put in the chat, commit to it right now. What day and what time are you going to start working on this? Friday, 8 to 8:30 a.m., right? Just put it on your calendar. This is free. This is something that is about stewarding your own wealth. So go ahead and put in the chat, when is your new money date? Okay, moving on. We're going to talk about the Freedom Fund. Lobster Bread, I don't know if you want to jump in here or I can keep going.
Yeah, so we do have the Freedom Fund, which in an ecological sense is the buffer for life storms, right? So if healthy ecosystems prepare for disruption, they're a fact of life, right? Like there's things are going to happen. And so a Freedom Fund is really like your mulch layer, it's like sand dunes, fire breaks. I'm gonna mute that. Fire breaks, right? Any kind of buffer that's going to absorb shocks. So one big environmental event doesn't wipe out everything. And this happens with people's lives a lot, right? Like if there's someone that has $1 million in their portfolio and suddenly they get a heart attack, the average cost of a heart attack is $1 million, right? And so we want to make sure that we're prepared for life's events in that way. And so the Freedom Fund is really about safety, flexibility, and also our operating system support. This is not about perfection, right? But it's about having that there so that we feel safe and we actually are safe in life's events that happens. And also just quick reminder for the people that are coming in now, snap that QR code. You want these prizes at the end. So get that, fill out that form real quick, and I'll pass it back to you, Amy.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Freedom Fund, you could also call it an emergency fund. We're calling it Freedom Fund just because it feels a little bit more expansive, but whatever you'd like to say is fine. So you start to track your cash flow, and even if you have great cash flow, you need a good container to hold that, right? You need a good bucket. Um, Everyone knows a good bucket, I think, in this group. So storing your money in an account that is not accruing any interest and it's just kind of sitting there, that's like having a bucket with a hole in it. It's leaking out. Inflation exists, right? Our money is not the same now as it was 20 years ago, and it won't be 20 years from now. So we want to store our money in a good bucket. And just a mindset shift as well with this. You're not storing money just waiting for an emergency to happen, right? This is about stewarding your resources. When you're gardening at the end of a season, you're putting up your vegetables, you're putting up your preserves because you're not just, eating it all and then waiting for next year. So think of it like that. I love the quote here, energy flows where attention goes. So this is about growing your resources by learning to pay yourself first. A lot of people in this group are probably community minded like myself, and we love to serve others and give, but we want to be doing that from an overflow. So you want to make sure that you are paying yourself first, putting your money into your Freedom Fund before you even pay your bills. I think it's a good practice when you're doing your money date to sit down and make sure you're paying yourself first so you can be in overflow. Great. So what's the grounded version of this? What's the best type of container to hold the Freedom Fund? That would be the high yield savings account. Put a 1 in the chat if you already have a high yield savings account. Many of you might. Also called it HYSA if you ever hear people refer to it as that. So this is a savings account that also accrues interest. So it's growing your money. So this is where you want to be, keeping your Freedom Fund, your emergency fund to make sure that it's at least keeping up with inflation. I put on here Forbright Bank because that's the bank I use. You can use any kind of high yield savings account you'd like. I'm not affiliated with them, no matter how many times I've asked them. Forbright Bank does amazing things. They're a green bank, so they do community projects, they plant trees. The point I want to make is make sure that whoever is holding your money is aligned with your values. All of our values might be different. Just make sure you know yours and that you're keeping your money in a place that's doing things with it that you would like. And you want to aim to have about 3 to 6 months of expenses saved in this account. Okay, I think we can move on. That's what I want to say. So this is something you can open today. This is free. You can reach out to us if you need a little bit more support doing that. But again, this is just a free thing you can do to support yourself.
Amazing. Thank you, Amy. Uh, yes. And so the third component, which we will dive right into now, is going to be debt management and debt freedom. Just as a sidebar to anyone that's come in, if you haven't yet, grab the QR code. You want prizes, we'll hand them out at the end. Fill out that form. I already see some of you doing it, which is awesome. So keep doing that. And then I will head into debt freedom. So essentially, right, we want to clear what's constricting growth. And in land design, we remove any barriers that are going to block expansion, particularly like root expansion, for example. If you're planting a garden and you have all of these weeds all around, right, you're not going to be able to grow the things you actually want. Now, I actually have like issue with the word weeds. I think that everything has its own use and purpose. And just like that, I want to also transmute the idea of debt because debt freedom, it is not about any kind of shame. It's not even bad all the time, which we'll find out in a minute. Some weeds are actually beneficial. Like one of my favorite that everyone calls a weed is dandelion, right? Dandelion is so good for us in so many ways, and it pulls up nutrients from deep in the ground that otherwise can't come up to the surface. And so what this is really about is removing any debt that's or pressure, that so that energy can move through the system again. Because when constriction eases, then more growth becomes possible. So we have the amazing Naki Young, who's going to dive a little more into that and what that means.
Hi, yes, thank you. Welcome. That was a beautiful introduction. But first and foremost, before I get started, I want you just to very briefly, you know, do a little check-in in your body. What season are you in right now? We are all coming in from like different parts of the country. The Northeast, we are definitely in winter season with lots of snow on the ground. So, that can be like that it's a time of rest, a time of slowing down and really taking in inventory. Where were we this past year? And where do we want to go in 2026? Where do we want to be in 2026? So there are also seasons of debt, just like there's different seasons of spring, summer, fall, and winter. And that's why I said, like, where are you in your inventory? Are you in like a season of debt that's just temporary, it just accrued? Or are you like in a season of thriving and you're like now preparing for next season and the spring and what you want to grow and how you want to prepare the land? Um, and in order to understand what season you're in, you also need to understand debt management. There's actually good and bad debt. I don't know about you, but a long story that has grown throughout many generations is that debt is bad, that all debt is bad. And actually, that's not even true at all. There's actually good debt and like bad debt. Bad debt can be, that $4 coffee that you get every single day that you could just easily make at home. That's going to like put you into a much bigger hole in the long run, right? Because you're just spending $4. But good debt can also be, this investment. What I call like an investment. That's what like good debt is. Good debt is when you buy that tractor that you need, right? To help plow that land because now you have a much bigger acreage, right? Or good debt can be also, investing in seed saving. Well, now you have to go buy containers to hold those seeds that you're now seed saving in, right? So there's like this clarity when we sit with you and look at your finances, we're actually clearing the air of what debt really means. So, and with debt, there's also compound interest. This is how you can actually get into debt much quicker, and it can also be a more difficult hole to dig yourself out of. So I'm going to go and show you an example of compound interest. Oh no, it didn't show the example. Does it? Oh, there it is. Okay, click again. There we go. So this is actually a real example of a friend of mine who's a homesteader, and we actually helped her with her debt management. And here, as you can see in like the lower left-hand corner, she had some various credit card debts, and we're like, hey, like, why not create a schedule for you? So this is actually what we can also help you with as well. We actually take the guesswork out of how to get yourself out of that hole, and we literally create a schedule for you. And you can see it in the right-hand picture there on the right-hand side. It literally says payment schedule. And so we help you get out of that hole much quicker than, say, 20 years of debt. You now have like 25 months or 29 months. How does that sound? Like, that sounds so much quicker, right? It's like adding manure to your garden, right? In the springtime, your garden's going to be flourishing and all the microbiomes are going to be flourishing. So this is just an example. We also use like the snowball or avalanche method. Put a two if you have heard of either or, the snowball or the avalanche method. Yes, yes. And so these are like just a few of the methods that we use to help lower that debt. So you can also, because like the more money you have, the more you can put into that freedom fund and also invest in yourself more. Take it away, lobster bird.
Ba-ba-ba-ba. Thank you, Naki. And headed next into components 4 and 5 is the wondrous Roslyn Weiss, who is going to be talking about proper protection and wealth building. But I do want to remind you all to fill out this Google form because we have lots of prizes and we want to give them to you. And you will also be able, so everything that we're talking about basically is what we walk through when we work with clients. We look at all of these. And so just like a permaculture designer would be able to map out a plan that's going to, decide how your water filtration systems are going to go and like use gravity in order to make them easier, right? Like these are the kinds of things like Naki's talking about. If you have debt, no shame around that. We can work with that and we can actually utilize that, right, to free things up and to increase your capacity in those zones as well as everything else. So hit the QR code, hit the link in the chats, sign up so that we can put you in our fun wheel of prizes later. Okay, back to the issue at hand. So first, Rosalind will be diving into proper protection, which is really guarding what matters, right? So young plants need protection, right? Not fear, but care. And they need shelter, from the elements. They can't be in too strong of sun. The wind and the cold will make them not be able to grow. Unless you're winter sowing, which is like a whole topic for another day, but even those have a shelter to protect them from the elements. And so, in the same way, proper protection in finance is guardianship. So, it's protecting people, plans, income, and legacy while the growth can continue to unfold. Really, what proper protection is an act of love. So, Roslyn, please tell us how.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name's Roslyn. I am a homesteader in the high country of northern New Mexico, and I'm a mother of two.
And I have been co-creating regenerative food systems for the past 2 decades. So I believe that land-oriented people are actually, we already inherently understand wealth, um, true wealth. We understand, the basis on which life either thrives or dies. And so, we know that healthy systems are diverse. We know that they flow. We know that they're efficient. And although we have this deep knowing in us about the nature of true wealth, many of us, if not most of us, I think really struggle with, um, you know, human created systems and kind of the antithesis we see there to the wisdom that we see in nature. So my hope is that we can begin to integrate our knowledge of land stewardship into the financial realms and really apply that knowing into our financial lives. And as we are continuing to beat this drum that all the concepts that create healthy ecology are also going to be mirrored in the financial realm. So I would argue that, because of our orientation, we are uniquely positioned to build wealth. Um, so for me, it was a spiritual awakening that brought me to the land. And after, a couple of college degrees, kind of um, learning the ins and outs of sustainability and living systems theory, I really found myself stuck. And I had bounced around doing various green jobs in the bustling eco mecca of Boulder, Colorado. But I just knew I needed to be on the land. And, buying land in Boulder County is incredibly expensive, and it was totally out of my reach at that time. So I kind of expanded my search radius and, no, oh, sorry, not quite yet, but that's fine. I expanded my search radius and was led, actually, will you go back? I was led to this valley. This green valley that you see before us is actually where I live and where I landed. It's a spring-fed um, valley that's absolutely steeped in agricultural history, and I got really lucky landing here. So, it took me about 5 minutes of walking on the land to realize that I was going to move my life here. And so I did. And my now husband and I have spent 9 seasons kind of attuning to the rhythms of this specific place. And because of our observations of the land, we've become, a lot richer in a lot of ways. We've become richer in soil health. We've become richer in knowledge. We understand what thrives here. We know, what medicine just grows wild on the land. We're rich in locally adapted seed where that I'll be giving some away today. This is some of my carrot seed. It's really awesome. It smells amazing. Actually, I wish you could smell it. Um, yeah, and we're rich in community. So we're really rich in so many ways, but we're not rich in the rich, type of way. So we've really struggled to monetize our operation. And the essence is that we lack the financial knowledge to be able to, step into a real felt sense of financial security. So after the birth of my second son, it was really painfully clear that we needed a re-education. And, we needed a plan that was going to account for, our children. Children kind of change your perspective on life. And, we really had to contemplate the inevitable winter season of our lives, that we will all eventually get to. So enter the Vortex Collective. Lobsterbird did a great introduction of us. We're a women-led holistic financial brokerage. And when I was introduced to Vortex, I was really inspired to see like what this was all about. And as a homesteader, we pride ourselves on preparedness, right? And I knew that our weakness was financial preparedness. So in permaculture, there's a saying that the problem is the solution. And what that means is that, within our problems, there's valuable information that's encoded there that can really help us to design better systems. So I was like, okay, this is my problem. I need to look at this head on. And that's what I've been doing. I've, dove headfirst into my financial literacy journey. And, now I'm in the process of cultivating financial resilience in earnest, not only for myself, but also for my community. And it feels damn good. So I'll say that. Okay, so today I want to talk to you about what I consider to be the low-hanging fruit of financial security, and that's proper protection. So I'm talking about life insurance. And believe it or not, life insurance is the foundation of a healthy financial system. And you may not know this, but all of the major banks, they pour billions into life insurance because of its financial strength. So you might want to ask yourself, do you have the proper type and amount of protection to replace your income, to pay your debts, to support your family, in the event of an untimely death or a serious illness? So, how would your land or mortgage payments get paid if if God forbid you left your body or you were too sick to work? And these are real concerns and real things that we need to plan for. And so we use life insurance first and foremost for this protection piece. And however, um, it also plays a key role in diversifying our wealth building and tax strategies. And I'm going to go into more about how that works. Um, we know that diversity is this core overlapping or overarching theme or principle in both healthy living systems as well as healthy financial systems. So there's two types of life insurance. There's term and permanent. And term is like a rented policy. And so it's going to be in effect for a set amount of time, usually 10 to 30 years. And the benefit of term insurance is that you can get a significant amount of coverage for a relatively low price. And this is especially good for younger folks. You have small kids, you have a higher insurable need, is what that is referred to. So one thing that's really cool is that in recent years, some companies have begun to offer living benefits with term policies. So you can actually access a portion of your death benefit in the event of a chronic illness or disability, and you can access up to 90% of your death benefit in the case of a critical illness diagnosis. So that is huge. It really makes, life insurance not just for death, but also for life. So the limitation of a term policy is that once it expires, you don't really have anything to show for that other than that you were protected for that time. So conversely, a permanent life insurance policy, it's going to last for the duration of the life of the person who's insured, and you're going to get the added benefit of cash value accumulation. And this is where things get really, stick with me. They get really fertile, really generative, and dynamic. Lobster bird.
Yay, thank you. And thank you for sharing your glorious story and your land with us, Roslyn. And for bringing us into the next section, which is building wealth. And so this is all about intentional cultivation. And so once your soil is healthy and protected, then abundance in your garden and in your fields becomes totally natural. And so building wealth is about choosing systems that compound over time without constant force or burnout. We're talking slow, steady, aligned growth, just the way we know that the earth loves it. So I will give that back to Rosalind to explain more about what that's like.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about a little bit more about permanent insurance, and I'm going to talk specifically about a type of permanent insurance that we love in Vortex, and that's indexed universal life. So I like to think of permanent insurance as the perennial crop of insurance. So think of it as you're planting an orchard that's going to feed your family over generations instead of planting annuals and kind of tilling year over year. So, there's absolutely a place for annuals. There's absolutely a place for term insurance, but you wouldn't want to miss out on the joys of perennial agriculture. I mean, think of fruit trees and how much joy that brings. I mean, to me, that's like the epitome of joy. So, let's dive in more into this indexed universal life. We refer to this as, well, many people do in the industry, as a financial multi-tool. It's really incredible the amount of ways that it can assist you in building wealth. And it's really the epitome of stacking functions, if you're familiar with that concept in permaculture. So, you know, when you are paying into your account, it's building cash value, and those gains in your policy, as well as your death benefit, are going to be tax advantaged. And what that means is that, this is one of the very few financial vehicles that's taxed in this way. Um, you're taxed on the seed rather than the harvest. So traditional retirement accounts are deferred, and this means you're actually taxed on the harvest, which that sounds horrible to me, personally. So, it's really, really important that when you're creating a financial plan for yourself, that you're diversifying your money as far as how that money is taxed. And so you're also going to want to diversify how your money grows. And Index Universal Life is an indexed account. The indexed piece is a growth strategy. And, this is another key to building a healthy asset mix. So how index growth works is that your account mirrors the gains that happen in the market, so like the stock market, and without being directly invested in it. So when the market goes up, your money is going to capture that growth to a point. And the beauty of index growth is that when the market makes a correction and loses money, that your account gains are going to be locked in. They're not going to dip below a set floor. And so that's usually 0% for a year. In our lifetimes, there's been several huge market corrections, and those take years to recover from if you're in a variable account. So if you're invested purely in variable accounts that are in the stock market, it's really a game of chance as to when these corrections are going to happen in relation to your retirement and how they're going to affect not only your future standard of living, but also your legacy. So you can pray that the market doesn't correct itself at an inopportune time. You could also let cash like rot under your mattress. Who does that? Um, or in a bank account, you can let it rot there also. Or you can take advantage of the multifaceted benefits of growth, protection, tax-free distributions, and built-in legacy, not to mention the incredible flexibility of an indexed universal life insurance policy. So they're highly customizable, which is incredible. I'm gonna keep it going. I'm gonna stay on this slide for a second, but Lobsterberg kind of mentioned this earlier, and I like to think of indexed accounts at like a greenhouse. So you can control for certain factors, temperature, humidity. When the variables are swinging wildly outside the greenhouse, your plants are still, safe and growing inside. And that's what your money is doing inside of your like cozy IUL greenhouse. So if this wasn't enough to like get you like pretty excited, I mean, for me, it is. But on top of that, um, a really incredible feature of these accounts is that you can actually take out policy loans. So as you're putting money into your account, you can take a loan from yourself at a fraction of the price it would cost you to take a loan out from the bank. And effectively, you can become your own bank. And who among us, I mean, I think it's like a common ethos. We want to like stick it to the man, like, you know. So that's what you can do. You can be your own bank. And this is like something that I'm incredibly excited about for myself and my family. Um, yeah, so in a properly designed policy, you can actually take money, borrow money from your account, and your cash value is still going to grow as if the money is still there. And that is just um, incredible. So now let's look. Now, don't run in the other direction. That we're going to look at some numbers. And um, so this is an example of an index universal life policy. And this is our job as financial professionals to work with these illustrations and to really design these um, policies to work with your goals. And so this example is for a 35-year-old female, and her death benefit is 300,000, and she's putting in $500 per month. And so you can see here it says premium outlay. Anyway, that's how much she's paying into it. That's $6,000 per year. And it's growing, growing, growing. Slowly at first. This is a long-term strategy. This is not like a get rich quick thing. This is something that you're going to intentionally, grow and tend as if it were a garden. And the harvests are quite amazing. So let's see, this is showing her first 15 years. And at the end of 15 years, she's put in $90,000. Her accumulated value is 113, so not bad. Her death benefit has grown to 370,000. And we can go to the next. This is just a continuation of this same policy. And she's been contributing diligently, tending her garden until her retirement at age 70. And, like I said before, this is highly customizable. So this is just an example. You don't have to start taking money out at 70. There's a lot of different ways you can go about this. But in this example, she's going to begin taking tax-free distributions at the age of 70 of over $49,000 per year, tax-free. And you can go to the next. So over the course of this 5, 10, 15, 20 years, she's taking over $49,000 per year. She stopped contributing at 69 and put in a total of $204,000, and she's pulled out over $1 million in tax-free distributions, which is pretty great, pretty amazing. One thing also to keep in mind is this whole illustration is showing growth at 7.49%. And historically, we're seeing, into the double digits of returns, but they want to be really conservative about the illustration so that they, kind of under promise and over deliver. So we can see that she's pulled out over $1 million. And over on the right-hand side, she still has, she has an accumulated value of 1.1 million. And her death benefit is still there. There's still a death benefit at the age of 90 of 115,000. So if she had passed at the age of 76, she would have $500,000 in death benefit there. So again, there's different ways that we can structure these. You can structure them so that the death benefit does continue to grow throughout the life of the policy. There's a lot of math magic that can happen, Lobster Bird likes to say. Um, so let's see. I've got one more graph for you. And I just wanted to show this. This is not a full illustration. This is just a snapshot of the end result of someone starting this policy for a child at the age of 4 and the power of what compounding can do over that span of time. So this is only putting in $100 per month. And again, we're using the age of 70 to start taking distributions. And this child at the age of 70 is going to be able to access $131,000, almost $132,000 yearly tax-free. And if you go over to the right hand side, you can see that by age 70, the cash value is 1.5 million and the death benefit is 1.6 million. So these are really big numbers that we're seeing from just really small incremental contributions over a long span of time. And, you know, you can certainly get gains in the stock market, but again, you're not going to have the protection of these accounts. It's just in the flexibility. There's just so much that they can really do. And yeah, so that's all I wanted to share. I would say definitely take advantage of your complementary financial strategy. And with us, you're going to have access to a full spectrum of financial products. This is just one of many tools in our toolbox. You know, if you're in a different situation, there may be something that's more suited to you, and we can really offer a wide variety. I wanted to show that particular product today because it is so incredible. So I also want to say you can find me on Instagram at Low Hanging Fruit Finance. And here's to 2026 with more preparedness and less GoFundMe's. Okay.
Thank you, Roslyn. Yes, as Roslyn said, this is one of your last chances to book that strategy on this call today to also win prizes. And not only will you get a complimentary strategy, and we'll pair, different solutions for you depending on what your particular needs are in that strategy. But this is one of your last chances to grab the QR code or the link, get your forms in. And I want to echo some wisdom from Denise in the comment as well, to say that, like these things are not guarantees as well. These products, one, like have been gate kept by the wealthy. That's why you haven't heard about them. And two, one does have to be in good health in order to qualify from them. So they're not just like something that anyone can do. And as Denise was saying, like didn't find out about it until it was too late, has a pacemaker, now doesn't qualify. So we really want to get these things in place. Like use your prepper mentality, that you would use for your homestead and apply that to your finances and do it sooner than you need it. And you will be so happy later on. And who doesn't want to have millionaire babies, by the way? Exactly. Like this is legacy money, and this is what we're talking about, which brings us to our last section. And we're bringing back the Naki for preserving wealth, which is all about legacy and continuity. And so we know that mature ecosystems plan for succession. It's also if you're thinking about, your planting and you have your annuals and your perennials, you don't want to just have all annuals that you're going to continually have to replant every year, right? Some of your plants you're going to keep there, you're going to preserve them there, and they're going to be able to continue to seed and help the other plants as they live on for, seasons to come. And so in the same way, if you're looking at preserving your wealth, this is what's going to ensure that what you grow continues to nourish your people, your land, your values beyond you. And this is future care in action. So this is our core ethic, number 3, like in action. So I'm excited to hear from Naki on preserving wealth.
Yes, thank you, Lobster Bird. And preserving wealth is a lot like seed saving, really, right? Because like we know that when we save seeds from our own plants, that means that we're less dependent on the government and all the corporations that are trying to like uh control seeds. So preserving wealth is also first and foremost about leaving a legacy, like Rosalind shared. Rosalind's talking about like creating wealth for all the generations. So how can we preserve that wealth so that they receive it and also don't have to pay taxes on it? Well, this is the importance of estate planning. Oftentimes, um, farmers, gardeners, homesteaders, earth stewards, actually don't have an estate plan in place. And then when they pass away, the state takes over and start dispersing what you just worked so hard for. And unfortunately, this is quite common in our community because when you don't have an estate plan, what happens is that it will go into probate. So put a one in the chat if you know what probate is. And it's okay if you don't, because I'm going to explain it. Yes, some of you already know. Great. So for those who don't know, probate is what happens when you don't have a living trust and a will. So when you don't have that, all that wealth that you just created in your life goes into like this space, I call it, this space where now the bank owns it and your state government now owns it. And they get to decide what happens to it. So we want you to preserve everything that you just worked so hard for by also like when your wealth is in a living trust and a will, now the state government doesn't touch that. It can't touch it because everything is now going to get dispersed through your words. And from your words, let's say you want to, give your children your home, they can inherit that. And they can also use the money that Rosalind was talking about earlier. They can like use that money. And it's really a protection piece, really. This is what protection is. This is how, um, millionaires stay millionaires. They have also protection with their wealth. And this is how they can continue to thrive in every single generation. And this is why we're talking about this. We want you to thrive in every single generation and also be protected from being taxed. We're already living through so much inflation. Let's be even more protected, even more. And short and sweet. So I hand it over to you, Lobster Bird.
You all are so amazing. All of you who are stewarding the earth, everyone who presented so far. So amazing. We're so grateful that you are here. Like truly, truly, truly for showing up, for attending the planet. All of these things really matter. And hearing and holding you, Caitlin, with your two kids and wanting to get things in place for you. If it feels right for you, we are so here to support you in that. The thing is that we've been conditioned in the society, right? It's all about individualism and rugged individualism, right? And we all have our own separate spaces, but truly, truly, we are fragile unless we are in this together, right? And doing this as community, supporting one another. And that is why I know we all love this work that we do in the financial field. It is truly no strings attached. All of our services are complimentary, and we walk hand in hand with you so that you do feel supported through all the seasons of your life and for all that you're building and growing. It really matters to us, and you matter to us. So thank you all again so much for being here. And in closing, to say that Rooted in Wealth is a path. As Rosalind said, we're not about quick fixes or get rich quick schemes, right? Or one size all fits all solutions. It's a path where money is a relationship, your wealth is an ecosystem, and finance is a tool for your life and the life you're building all around you. Go to the next. And so to continue to the journey, if this resonates with you, we'd love to walk alongside you because it's really through this holistic values aligned financial strategy that we can really hone in and understand where you're at and help you design the systems that are going to support you, your land, and your community. The QR code is still open. You can always still fill out the form for a strategy. And as we close here on our very last slide, I'd love to bring it back in and share a blessing from the earth, and from our hearts straight to yours. May your roots be deep. May your systems be resilient. May you tend land in solidarity and support. May you be happy and healthy. May your wealth nourish all life. Such an honor to be here with you, to support you on your path. Thank you so much for coming to Rooted in Wealth, and we will see you all again very soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.